Hello, and welcome back to Two Chicks and a Horror Flick. My name is Felicia Connor.
And I'm Tawny Ray.
And today we are talking about The Orphanage. Super excited to talk about that. Before we begin our adventure through the orphanage, Tawny, what are you drinking?
I have some Truly right now that I'm drinking. And you know, I try to avoid the carbonated things, but I just today felt like I had to switch it up. So I got that. And it's in my cute little Idaho Horror Film Festival koozie that is seemingly designed for Trulies because it's like too thin to fit an actual beer. It's really great. What are you drinking?
And how long has that been out? Has the koozie, has it been out way before Truly's came out? So they kind of like saw in the future, kind of like Star Trek. You know how they always say the technology they used in Star Trek happened?
Oh, yeah. Before actual tech. I don't know. The first time I volunteered was not in 2020, obviously, but it was 2019, and they had them there, but they might have had them before then. I don't know. So
yeah. Okay.
Who knows?
That's cool. I am drinking whiskey, and it is, I have a picture. That's why I'm looking down, because I took a picture. I don't know if my husband wanted me, because it's one of his favorites too, to bring the bottle in here.
Okay.
So I took a picture of it. It's Jack Daniel's single barrel proof Tennessee whiskey. And it's very, very good.
Okay.
I always told my husband, I'm like, honey, I would like to have that Jack Daniel's so I could talk about it on the podcast. And I thought to myself, literally all I say is this is what I'm drinking and it's good. So it's not like it's oaky.
Yeah, you don't give notes.
No. It's good. It has a burn
finish.
And it's sweet, I guess.
Now I'm immediately jealous and I wish I was drinking whiskey, which is like real backwards from what I tried to do, but shit, I'll just have to get some whiskey next time. And your little glass is so... Felicia has a very fancy, specific glass if you're not watching us.
Yes, it's specific to when you smell, and the smell funnels up through, I'm not explaining it well, but the way it's curved. Right. Yeah. And did you know I already told you. You open your mouth and your nose when you smell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told you that. That's like my only fun fact that I have to...
That's fair. We can repeat it. If people didn't catch that episode, they get it now. That's good.
So when you smell, you place the lip of your glass in like the center of the divot above your lip, right below your nose, and then you breathe in and smell. And you get so many more notes. And again, if you haven't seen that whiskey, the whiskey documentary, Neat, it's amazing. This guy walks through at the Buffalo Trace distillery.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm. He walks them through. His dad used to work there. He worked like such a cute... I already had told you I was crying. But he does this thing where he has them put whiskey on their hands and then rub their hands together and smell it. And it smells like, like rubbing alcohol or whatever. And then to do it after smelling this, and then to do it like in different ways. And it opens up the different flavors within the whiskey.
Ooh, okay.
Super cool. Right. One thing that Steve wants to do is go to, I think it was Tennessee and Kentucky, and do like the whiskey row. I think it's Tennessee, or Kentucky, I don't remember. You better invite me to that. Yes, and Steve should all go do this and go to Whiskey Row where they do these things. Or I don't know if it's called Whiskey Row, but whatever. We all have to do this together.
Well, I'm so in. I like how you just, I don't know what made me, I mean, this is the only thing that I have to compare that to is Furniture Row. So it would crack me up if it's not called Whiskey Row and you just...
It's probably not, because they're not in a row. But it is down a street. I don't even know. It's the tours. It's the whiskey tours.
Let's do that when we can, obviously.
Yeah, of course. When we can, we'll do it. We'll book it.
Awesome. Have you been watching anything exciting? Other than the movie we're about to talk about?
Yeah, other than the movie. And other than the movie, we are doing with We Love Horror podcast tomorrow, which I'm all turned around. I don't know when that's coming out, when ours is coming out, but next week. I just started tonight the crime scene. Oh, shoot. I should have been ready. I just started tonight.
Was this a Netflix one?
Yes, with
The
Elisa
Cecil
Lam.
Hotel.
Crime scene. The vanishing at the Cecil Hotel.
But it is about Elisa Lam,
It's
right?
about Elisa Lam, yes.
This
yes.
one, oh God, this one really creeps me out. More so than other unsolved crime type things. I don't know what it is, but maybe I could figure it out. But it really creeps me out. The fact that there's like elevator footage of her acting erratically, and the fact that she was like in the water tank. If you don't know about this, you need to look it up. I don't want to go through the details because I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it really disturbs me on like a deeper level, more so than the other stories of unsolved crime things like this. So I'm like apprehensive. Like I want to watch this, but it makes me feel real bad.
I think this will make you feel real bad then and maybe you don't want to watch it until you feel like you might be ready to watch it, because at first I didn't want to watch it because I've seen and listened to a lot of true crime podcasts that cover this, and I hear the same details, about it. Well, this one, there's more. They interview the woman who managed the hotel at the time, and they bring in. So I mean, but it's also very interesting. They bring in the history of the hotel, the different stuff that happens at the hotel, so you understand the hotel more, the kind of people that might have been in the hotel, and so paints a way bigger picture. So that's good. So anybody who is hesitant on watching it because they've seen so many things, they do bring up some different stuff, but then it might make you feel more creeped out by it. But I've only watched episode 1.
I have something for you. Are you ready for this, Felicia?
I am so ready for this.
Okay. I'm sorry to cut in front of you in case you were going to say another thing that you've been watching, but let me just insert this in here before I forget. I downloaded and got a subscription to Discovery Plus because Magnolia Network, Chip and Joanna Gaines, who do Fixer Upper, created their own network, Magnolia Network, and they went to Discovery Plus, I think. So Discovery Plus has their own subscription and they have like a bunch of different networks on there. So it's like TLC, HGTV, Magnolia Network, of course, and I can't remember, DIY. Like it's like all of that kind of stuff that they put on this. So I downloaded, this is like one of the like times that I downloaded a free trial, and I was like, I'm for sure gonna pay for this after the free trial. Like I'm not gonna cancel this because there is so much to watch on there that I love watching. And so I started it for Fixer Upper, but there's all kinds of stuff on there. Also ID, which is like one of the, it's like the, what was it? Court TV used to be.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's what it turned into, is ID Investigation Discovery or something like that. They have, I think it's them, they have this show called Paranormal Caught on Camera, and it is fucking great, actually.
It's great? Okay.
It is pretty great. And I am a person who's like pretty skeptical.
Yeah. And
Jade loves like alien or like paranormal stuff. He loves to watch it. And I hate watch that stuff with him because I like to be like, oh, really? Especially Ancient Aliens, because they like they make absurd jumps in logic, and I like to make fun of how fucking crazy it is. And so, but this one, I'm like, okay, this is pretty it's pretty interesting, some of the stuff that they have on camera. So I know that you are always looking for this. And I haven't done any after watching the episode research. And sometimes they're a little bit skeptical in the episode. Like sometimes they'll be like, oh, this one is maybe not so much, we can explain this away. But some of them, they're like, we don't know. And I like that.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, very cool. I'm going to have to check it out. I do really want good paranormal stuff, not this BS stuff.
Yeah.
Or the stuff that leads nowhere, right? It's just all this hype and, oh my gosh, we're going to go there in the middle of the night. And then there's nothing really. And
I think you'd like it.
I love Ancient Aliens. I have them on DVD. The entire thing.
Oh my God. I can't with Ancient Aliens.
They do with some, but then there's some stuff I am crazy about the Anunnaki. But that didn't start with ancient aliens, actually. My very first religion class in graduate school, the teacher, he was really cool. He went into this whole thing. Who am I talking about? Was born to a virgin and was crucified, was rose again, that whole thing. And everyone's like, oh, it was Jesus. And he's like,
right.
No, it was, and Ra, I think it was, or some Egyptian god. And then talks about how this story is repeated, in different religions, different societies. So anyways, when he came to the Anunnaki and the freaking chiseled drawing, or not drawing, but the picture of the solar system that was way before they would even be able to see the solar system. And then I was in another ancient Christianity course, and we used to read I have this book, ancient letters from different, just different like people in the religious movement, like just this collection of them. And it mentioned something about, and there was like this, I don't even know. Obviously, I'm getting really excited. So I am into that. I am so into that. But I do agree. There's some where they go and look at this and you're like, well, but there's some stuff that are like real rich nuggets of, what the fuck and how.
I agree.
And...
I like those connections. I like to be like, oh, that's interesting. But then they just take that. Like, I feel like in all Ancient Aliens episodes, at least I feel like the first set, maybe the first couple seasons or something, were like more reeled in, like they were a little bit more like they didn't make those insane leaps. But now you watch an episode and it's like, the first couple things they'll be like, how did they have this technology? Like, that's weird. That technology didn't exist until 100 years later. And you're like, oh, like as a viewer, you're like, oh shit, that's interesting. Yeah, like how did that happen? And then they'll like do a second thing that's like, well, that technology is all blah, blah, whatever. And you're like, oh shit, really? And then they're like, and so the only conclusion that ancient alien theorists theorize is that 20 years ago, time travelers from 150 years ago in the future knew about aliens and traveled back into time so that they could travel forward into time 20 years to tell people how to create these tools. And you're like, wait a minute, what? How did we get there? What in the fuck? Anyway, that's why I hate Ancient Aliens, because I'm just constantly like, what the fuck? What?
There are some more options.
Can we just, like, maybe let's take a more obvious potential answer. Like, and
yes, like
know.
You'll make me believe it more too if you kind of look both. And if anyone's interested in aliens, I just have to say, look at the Disclosure Project. Insane. The Disclosure Project by Green is his last name, and I'm not remembering his first name for some reason. Insane. It's really wild. It's wild. So I think aliens exist. Absolutely. Well, 100% they do. Some out in the universe, something exists, right? But do they come here? Who knows?
Right.
What's harder for me is that they come here and they do experiments on us. Because I just feel like if you are so crazy advanced that you could come all the way over here, why are you picking off cows and people randomly?
And us. Like, we are probably so insignificant as far as whatever else is going on. Like, we can't even leave our planet to go to a different fucking planet. Like, what do you want with us? Like, we are so fucking inferior. I don't get it. Yeah.
Unless, but if you think about it, if we got the technology to zip around to different planets, we probably would be taking samples of shit as we went to the different planets.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, probably we would,
true.
Right?
That's true. No matter how more, I don't know what the right word would be, unadvanced it was than us.
Yeah. But they might be curious, like, whoa, look at that. I've never seen a thing that looked like that before.
True. That's true.
I don't know. I totally didn't believe in alien abduction, and now I just circled back to trying to defend it. But
it's a big subject.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have a whole episode. Jade would love to weigh in as someone who consumes lots of alien content.
Actually, that would be so interesting because Steve is right with you, but even more so.
Really?
Like,
Okay.
skeptic to the core. No, he believes that there's millions of other things that exist in the universe. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that we're like the only
Right.
planet in the entire universe, but he does not believe they're coming here. He does not believe they're experimenting on us, or that we actually have an interest in gold because that helps them, and that's why we're so obsessed with gold, and that we were put here. You know this, right?
Yeah.
That we were, yeah. He doesn't. There's
Oh,
none
no.
of that.
No, I don't know that. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, the reason we're so obsessed with gold as a people is because it's a valuable resource to the aliens that created us and put us on Earth to mine gold.
We're doing a real bad job.
Worker ants.
We're like, they're like hundreds of years into this experiment, and they're doing all this shit instead of mining gold now.
What
like,
are you
we
doing over there starting your own podcast? To fucking work.
We made them too smart. Now they don't want to mine gold anymore.
These fuckers are too emotional. Who decided to put emotions in them?
They're like, why am I here? Not to mine gold my whole life, I'm sure.
What's my purpose? If I hear one of these ants talk about purpose one more time, I'm going to lose my shit.
That's great.
Oh. But that's about it. It's been a pretty busy week. I just watched the 2 movies we needed to watch and started that documentary.
Okay. All right.
Anything else besides the Magnolia Network, which I also like the Gaines, and I love that show. That you watched?
There is something about Fixer Upper, can I just say in my defense right in this moment? There's something about Fixer Upper that makes me feel... It is like the only thing that I can watch or consume if I'm feeling anxious that actually lowers my anxiety. I don't know what it is, but everything else, and this sounds like I'm making a joke. I'm really not. This is honest to God, if I feel anxious and I can't like get rid of that feeling, I watch Fixer Upper because it feels like the show feels like everything is so right in the world and everything is fine. And other shows don't feel like that at all to me. And so I love it for that reason. It just helps me feel a little bit more centered and like calm. But there's so many other things on this like network that I've been watching, like Pawn Stars. I fucking love Pawn Stars.
Oh yeah, that's fun. I love that too.
The other HGTV show that I really like is Good Bones. Good Bones is very close to Fixer Upper as far as like feel good, everything is possible, like very positive. I don't know. So that's mostly what I've been watching.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to any other podcasts. I definitely need to, I always say this, but put on some other podcasts. Because I am so honored that all of the feedback we got from Jennifer's Body, from this beautiful, amazing community. How good did that make us feel? Like,
so good.
Oh, geez.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is an honor. Maybe that's not the right word.
It is the right word. It feels like an honor, especially coming from, sorry, I just totally.
No, go ahead.
Okay. It feels like an honor because there are people in our space doing the same thing. So it's an honor that anybody spends the time to listen to us and listen to our podcast. Love it when fans are like, oh, we loved this and we resonated with this. I think we got at least 5 more subscribers, 4 or 5 on YouTube. I saw them coming in that people were subscribing. And then also, in addition, to get feedback from people in our community doing the same thing, saying, wow, this was good.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, thank you for the feedback. And it was, I mean, even as we were having the conversation, it was interesting. It was much bigger than the movie itself. So we're so glad that you guys liked it. And it did give me life as a person, as a human being.
Yeah, me and Tawny, we love this so much. And we also talk through, like, we're constantly thinking, are we doing it right? Could we be doing it better? Are we, you know what I mean? Because we care a lot. And so that makes us feel good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. This movie, The Orphanage. This was actually a fan recommendation from Bernardo. So thank you so much. He found us actually on Instagram. I worked with him years ago. And so we're connected on Instagram, and he had made a comment of, oh, I don't really tend to listen to podcasts, but this is super cool. And I'm like, well, we have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So he went over, and now he watches, and he leaves us these big reviews with his feedback and his scoring. And oh, by the way, Bernardo, if I haven't responded to your comments from the past 2 episodes, I will this weekend. So know that and expect that. But really love his engagement, and this is one of the movies that he recommended that we watch.
Yay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And did you do the 2 minutes with Tawny?
I did do it. I did.
Okay. Thank God. Because when I was writing up my notes, I was thinking, I should put it in there just in case, because I know she's busy. And then I was like, fuck it. She said she'd do it.
I told Felicia last night, I was like, I wrote it on my to-do list. I swear to God, I'm going to do it. And so I did.
Nice.
And hopefully it's good. We'll see.
It'll be good. Literally, I was going to Google search if you hadn't done it. So, all right. The Orphanage is a supernatural horror film made in 2007. The director is J.A. Bayona. He also directed The Impossible, A Monster Calls, and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. And I say that because we're big Jurassic World.
Yeah.
And in that movie is the woman, the nanny who takes care of the little girl, is the medium in this movie.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I recognize her. So anyways, that's that. And then Guillermo del Toro, which we all know, helped to produce the film.
Okay.
So this is early for a tidbit, but he, in order to double the budget for the film, he went to his friend, and Guillermo said, sure, and it doubled the budget. So the budget was $4 million, and the box office was $78.6 million.
Wait, back up. Because I have a question, and I couldn't even pay attention to the numbers. So I apologize. The director went to his friend, Guillermo, and said, you come on, you bring in some money. Mm-hmm. And that's how they doubled the budget? Okay, I'm sorry. Yes. Tell me that's all I wanted.
You got it all. So now back to the budget. Yeah, because you got it. The budget is $4 million. Okay. So it must have been $2 million.
Low.
Yeah.
Very low.
Yeah, he must have had like a $2 million budget for this before.
Yeah.
And the box office was $78.6 million.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's a great success. Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes gave it an 87%. And the rating average is 7.4 out of 10. Your best friend, Roger Ebert. Your best friend, Roger Ebert, loved this movie. So, also, I just wanted to add this. It won 7 Goya Awards, and when it premiered at the Cannes or Cannes? Cannes. It's not even an S. When it premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, it received a 10-minute standing ovation.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Crazy shit right there. All right. So, should I do the cast first, or we do your 2 minutes with Tawny?
I kind of like the cast first. And we haven't gotten any feedback on this, so I'm just like, it's just my 2 cents. But I feel like when you know the cast first, and then if you've watched, because again, we're kind of catering to people who like have seen the movie, but it's been a few years, and so you know you've seen it, but you don't remember entirely. It gives you a little bit of a visual image. So do the cast first, and then we'll do 2 minutes with Tawny.
I like it. Look, we're figuring out our structure on the fly.
Yes.
So on the cast, and I only wrote down like 5 people, but there were others. The first person is Belen Ruda, who's Laura, and she's the mother of Simone. Fernando Cayo is Carlos, and he's the father. He's the husband of Laura. Roger Princept plays Simone. Oscar Cassis plays Tomas. And Geraldine Chaplin played Aurora, who was the medium, and I had to throw her in there because I love Jurassic Park. And there was a lot of other people too in the movie, but those are the ones that I wrote down.
Okay. All right, here we go. And you'll have to tell me, Felicia, if I missed anything. This was kind of challenging today because there is a lot about this movie. Like, there is a lot of pieces and parts that get, like, woven in to the end. So hopefully I captured it all. So here we go. 2 minutes with Tawny. Laura, Carlos, and their son, Simone, move into a large house that used to be an orphanage with the intention to open it back up. Simone is adopted, and so is Laura from this very orphanage years ago. Simone has imaginary friends, one of which seems to inform him that he is adopted. After Laura slaps Simone at a party for the opening of the orphanage, after this whole revelation about him being adopted, she can't find him around the house and runs to the beach where she thinks he may have gone into a cave that they visited earlier but doesn't find him. Laura hears things around the house and begins to think that the house is haunted. After bringing in a medium, it is revealed that the children in the house were poisoned and died there. Laura knew them and left right before this incident. Next, an old woman who worked at the orphanage, Benina, I hope I'm saying that right, dies, and it's revealed that she had a son at the orphanage named Tomas who was disfigured. He was hidden away, and the rest of the kids accidentally killed him when they lured him into the cave by the water, causing him to drown. Benina killed the children as she blamed them for his death. Laura asks the ghost children to show her where Simone is. Through playing with them, they lead her to Tomas's secret room where she finds Simone's body. We find out that during the party, Laura accidentally locked Simone in the secret room where he fell off the steps and died. Laura speaks to Simone, who tells her he has wished for her to stay and take care of the other children. Laura dies? Question mark, question mark, question mark. That's what I wrote in these notes because we'll talk about it, but it's kind of vague. Yeah, we'll get there. And Carlos comes back to the house to put flowers on her and Simone's gravestone. I mean, I guess it's like implied that she died, but what I was putting question marks there about is like how she died.
Like from suicide, taking all those pills.
Right. Like it is sort of, you see her take a bunch of pills. By the way, we should say, we just ruined this movie for you. Oops.
Yeah. No turning back now. Might as well just like buckle up.
You got to stick it out. I'm sorry. We didn't do it
now.
Early enough. And we're going to cuss a bunch, which you fucking probably already know.
Oh, shit.
Anyway.
We need to have like just a pre-recorded.
I was thinking that too.
This episode contains adult material and we spoil the shit out of it. And it just, you plug it in and we don't have to say that shit. Let's do it. Okay.
We will. Okay.
Okay, back to the movie.
Yep.
Okay, that was excellent. Thank you. All right, Tawny. How did you feel? What did you think about this movie?
I love and hate this movie. I have a love-hate relationship with it because it is so fucking good. I really love it. But it is also so fucking bleak. It's like one of the most horrific movies that I can think about. And it makes me feel so bad to watch it. It's like, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I watched it the first time 2 years ago when, so my coworkers and I did like a summer movies list and we made like a top 10. This was actually Paige, my friend Paige at work, who was like, let's make a top 10 list of the movies that if you watch them, you sort of understand us better as people. Like, it's not necessarily like our favorite movies, but it's like, if you want to get a sense of who I am and what shaped me, watch these 10 movies, right? And this was on Paige's list, and I had never seen it, shockingly, even though I had heard a lot about it. So she owns the DVD, let me borrow it, and I watched it for the first time 2 years ago. And it is so good, but it was so terrible. And so when we agreed to watch this again, I was like, oh no. Like I dreaded it a little bit. I was like, I'm going to have to watch this again, and it's going to feel so fucking terrible. Because it is really a bleak and horrific story. But it's also so fucking good.
Yeah.
How did you feel about it?
Okay. So I loved the movie, and I had the same feeling. Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's me. I had the same feeling I did with his house, where I felt like there was just so many elements. Didn't ruin the movie for me. Didn't ruin it, but because I really loved it. But I felt like this could almost be two different movies. There's either the movie of this woman who grew up in this orphanage, came back to the orphanage. Maybe she has a kid and he's hearing ghosts. She's discovering, and then she discovers the whole story about how all her friends were killed by this woman.
Yeah.
So that's one movie. Another movie is maybe her son is like, or there is a ghost, right? And she's trying to track it down. Her son goes missing. There's some type of element inside the house, and she discovers that it's actually her son's ghost and he died. And then there's that whole element, because there was and then there's Peter Pan. And then there's like so many elements that I almost felt like it, but again, it didn't ruin it for me. I just felt like, wow, fuck, that was just a lot of shit they packed in there. And not shit like in the bad shit, just like shit, like stuff.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of it they packed in there. Lots of different storylines, right? Because the kids dying or the kids being killed versus her accidentally trapping her son into the wall. And, all of the stories I liked, there was just so many stories.
Yeah. No, great point. Because you have the story of the children, and then you have the story of Tomas, which is wrapped into the story of the children, but is separated in the flow of telling the story. And then you've got this, Benina, right? This woman coming back to deal with her. And then you've got the criminal investigation of, Simone going missing, and like potentially being a ghost or whatever, and like the grief that they're dealing with. It is a lot. There is a lot. And actually, even though I just watched this movie like 2 years ago, the second time I sat down to watch it, I started it, in the first like 30 minutes I was like, fuck, I know this all comes together, but I can't remember how. Like, like I was like, I don't know what it happens, but I can't remember how this cave is related, and these like seashells and the imaginary friend. Like I was confused again, even though I had watched it somewhat recently. Yeah. So I totally get where you're coming from. It is a lot. I do
think like all the ghosts, and he happens to die. So it's more like the story of the ghosts, right? And what happened to these children, and finding them peace again. And he happens to die in the middle of this whole story taking place as well. And then the ghosts are like, oh, hey, this is where your son is. But those ghosts had a whole story to be discovered way before Simone got trapped and then died.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Laura knows them all. Right? Like it is like a lot. It is a lot. And the one thing to me that while we're on the subject of it, that feels very disconnected from everything else is, why does Simone have HIV? Like, it seems to really not come into play at all, except for the fact there's like one tiny little line where they're like, oh, he's missing and we need to find him quick because he has like medicine that he has to take daily. Like that, but that's kind of it, and it's a throwaway line. It really doesn't have any bearing on the story, at least that I can tell right now. Like, somebody, if you disagree and you have a different viewpoint of it, let me know. Maybe it's because she feels the need to take care of him because he's like, maybe not super healthy on top of being adopted or something. But that really doesn't ever like play out or come to fruition in any type of way. That's like an extra thing that I'm like, okay, we could have lost that. That didn't have anything to do with anything.
Well, there was one comment that I think it was the medium said.
Oh, yeah, close to
death.
When
you're close to death, yes.
Yeah.
But however, it's known by everybody that children are more open to spirits. So you didn't even need the HIV level. You're right. Because she does say that, close to death, But in a nutshell, I mean, you could have just let it be that children are more open, because that's in every single movie and every single children are just open to that stuff, and so are cats and stuff like that. and or animals.
Don't say that. Fucking cats looking into corners. Ew. God.
Animals are usually more open to that stuff and everything like that. So you really didn't need the added element because it wasn't even like, we need to get him his medication. Any child that goes missing, it's imperative that you find them quickly before something really horrible happens to them. Right. So you don't even need that element. But so you're absolutely right.
That was the only thing, because I get what you're saying, but I think that they did a really, really fantastic job of sewing it all up in the end. All of it comes back together. Even though, again, the second rewatch, I'm like, what the fuck? I was like trying to be like, wasn't she at this orphanage? Why did she buy this orphanage? Who was that lady that was in the like first shot? Like, I'm like so fucking confused. What happened to those kids? How long ago was that? Is this like, are we time traveling? Like, I was like so fucking just couldn't remember anything. And then by the end of the movie, I was like, oh yeah, that's why I fucking liked this movie. Yeah. It is so good.
I was confused as well with why were these people sending their children to live with her? Because these special needs children, right, from all ages. So I get older, because I guess that's very, very common in older people. Older, I mean like 18 and older, right? To where if you have a disability, but you're going to live in a home where you're independent and on your own, but it's still a place where you have someone that can look after you and make sure that you're safe. So I totally get that. But these were kids that were like TT's age up to adults, like all big range. And all of these people were, I mean, I
don't know.
Yeah.
They didn't explain any of that. It was just like, good
It was
good
so
question.
Confusing. Like, it was just confusing. But again, it didn't ruin it for me. I just found myself going, what exactly are they doing with this house?
Yeah.
Like, what's their dream? Like, what is their dream? Because it kept saying, when the new kids come to live here. Remember?
Yeah, we didn't need that either. Honestly, as we're talking about it, I'm like, we didn't need the added element of like bringing other kids into the house.
Yeah. Because they kept saying, when the other kids live here. When the other kids live here.
And they never lived there.
And the people that were at the party, again, were all ages. They were people my age and older to tiny children. So
well, maybe that could be just that, it's those people who are, what's the word? Like custodians of those people, maybe?
Some of them I thought that they
were like adults. Okay, that were going to be...
There were definitely like the parents and the different people were there as well.
Okay.
It didn't ruin it for me, but it was something that I started to get kind of caught up in.
Yeah, on. Okay, that's
and then
fair.
I let it go. But
I have my own set of things that I got caught up on, by the way, that we'll get into later, I'm sure.
But it was.
I just don't want you to feel like you're alone.
Okay, good. It was beautiful. It was creepy. I thought she did a phenomenal job. Yeah. She was so believable. And the little boy was lovable as well. And oh shit, when they played that game that led him to that file and he was like, yeah, I read it all. They told me all about it. Like, oh shit. That was great.
I loved that part too. I felt like that was so imaginative, right? Like I can't think of another movie that I've seen something similar like that in. Mm-hmm. And it is like these ghosts are laying these clues to be able to lead this child to this file. He doesn't even read it. It's just they told him, you're adopted, right? Like, because he says, oh, my friend told me that you're not my real mom. And that's when they have to say, oh, yeah, you're adopted. We wanted to tell you when you were a little bit older, which, again, kind of leads you to believe, oh, these are not imaginary friends. These are some sort of spirits or ghosts that have some knowledge of what's actually happening.
Yeah.
I have just right off the top, I have to say that one of my favorite moments of this movie is the scare right off the top when she goes to the it's like the shack or something. It's like the barn. And Benina is out there hiding with a shovel. at first you don't know what's happening. So it is supremely scary. This is like my favorite type of scare. Were you shocked by this?
Oh yeah,
she's
that
hiding?
lady was in there? Yes.
And you just, it takes you like a good long time to figure out that she's in the background. She starts to move. I even saw this movie beforehand and it took me by surprise. I was like, Jesus Christ, like, what am I looking at? And she runs off into the forest with a shovel. So it ends up kind of feeling funny because you're like, whoa.
I'm so glad you said that, because you know what else made it a little bit funny feeling? That music when she's running off. Yes. Yeah. I wrote that down, like when it's like, doo, doo, doo. I don't know, this music. It is. I was like, what am I watching? Is this like a comedy too? Like,
it was weird. And that's like the only moment of comedy, is it not? Like, it's like the only
moment.
So fucking weird. But also it kind of, I think if I had to guess, maybe why they do that is that I completely forgot about her as a threat. Like, just 1000% was like, oh, that Looney Tunes lady. So that when she comes back up later, you don't, you're just like, I don't know. You don't put a lot of stock in her as a scary character or something, which I think pays off kind of, because then later in the movie she gets hit by a bus and there is an incredibly graphic scene with her jaw gone. It's not gone, but it's like,
it's there like
dislocated.
Krampus.
Yeah, it's like way out of whack and gigantic.
It's insane looking. Oof.
So gross.
Ugh.
So let me just take this opportunity, because we probably won't come back to this, but this is one of the things that upon rewatching, you're sort of like, okay, what the fuck? I don't know if you picked up on this, so you will have to tell me, Felicia, as I just interrupt me if you're like, I was like, what the fuck is happening? I watched this movie and didn't pick up on it at all.
Go.
No, you go.
No,
tell
I
me what it is.
You're gonna say no. You go.
Because I want to know if it's the same thing. Okay, but I didn't pick up on it at all. But again, like I'm telling you, we passed this DVD around to our coworkers, right? Because it was like, the agreement was, if you haven't seen the movie on this list, you need to go watch the movie and like report back to us. That was the agreement, right? So I watched the movie, passed it off to my coworker Justin, who watched the movie, came back and was like, you guys. So this is not my own observation. This is Justin's observation. He was like, I thought it was pretty funny, actually, the fact that this person got hit by a bus, and you see this moment where somebody gives her CPR and comes up for air and has blood all over his mouth. It's her husband, it's Carlos. And then they show the shot of the woman, and she literally has, like, no jaw. So, like, there's no actual way that you could give CPR to this person because there's no, like, mouth. And Paige and I both were like, oh, my God, you're so right about that. Like, never, like, you wouldn't stop to think about it if you're just a viewer watching it. Is that what you picked up on, too?
So, I didn't pick up on it until you started to talk about it. So we talked about the dislocated jaw, and you're like, there was this one moment, and so I was like kind of thinking of the scene, and all of a sudden it hit me. Her jaw's down here. What was he just directly blowing air down her esophagus? You're right.
You have to close the seal to be able to push air into the lungs. Totally ridiculous.
You're right. I didn't catch it when I watched it. I only caught it right now while you started talking. God. I was like, oh shit. Oh my God, the jaw. Yeah, he would have literally had to have his face completely in her throat, blowing air.
Yeah, which was not.
Is not, yeah.
But at least they had the decency to put blood all around his mouth so that he was
exactly
like,
what he
I
did.
tried. You know what I mean?
Ew, yes.
So dark.
Yeah.
Again, I cannot take credit for that observation. That was my coworker and friend Justin. Very smart. Paying attention. Yeah. Not me. I was like willing to let it slide as a viewer.
Well, because I was so shocked by the jaw. Like the look of her face. I didn't even think about it.
You know what else too, upon rewatching? They show it for like a half second right before they pull the bag over the jaw, and I thought, oh man, I thought you saw that more, you know? And then like a half second later, she jolts alive and grabs their arm and the bag comes off, and it's like truly horrific. It is a like terrible scene. And y'all know from our Grudge episode, I'm a fan of missing jaws, so I was like, yes, give me this.
It's a scary look with no jaw.
It is.
That's a scary when they do that in horror movies.
It really is, because we don't know what it looks like. True, you know, like it's so. Whew, I love that.
I did think she should have snagged that doll, little Tomas doll underneath the bus. I don't know why. I'm just like big on. She should have grabbed that thing.
Yeah,
especially where she was in her investigation. She kind of just left it there in the street, but there was a lot of shock going on, so I get it.
Yeah, it was very. I did think the second time watching it this time, I was like, this is a really, what am I trying to say? Realistic way to act. She thinks that Benina, at this point in the story, kidnapped Simone.
Yeah.
So the first thing she does is run to the, like, you know, little carriage, baby carriage, to see if he's in it. Because she thinks my child is in this, and it just got hit by a bus. So I at first I think I was confused about what she was doing, but the second time I was like, oh no, this totally makes sense. Because she thinks her child is in that thing. She's going to find it, and then she goes over to her because she thinks, God, please be alive and know where my son is. But no chance. She did.
Yeah.
Benina. R.I.P.
Yeah, she's dead. During the climax of the film, where Laura is changing parts of the house to make it look like how it looked in the past, so that the little spirits would feel more welcome and all of that, one of the changes included setting up all the beds, the old beds, the way they're originally in the children's room, the way they were originally in the children's room. But if you look closely, which that's not my forte, she has set up 8 beds. Yet, including Tomas, there's only 6 orphans. So this likely foreshadows that Simone and Laura become the 7th and 8th spirits, as it's revealed that Simone has become trapped in the basement and died while trying to escape.
Okay.
That, I know, jumping right to the end, but I can say, oh God, when she finds him and she's holding him and she's kissing him, and she's like, just close your eyes. And then when she opens her eyes, there's nothing in the blanket. And then she finds him dead, and she holds him and she kisses him. Oh my God. And then she takes all of those pills, and then she's with him. It's like crazy, because you think like, this is not good, of course, that she's committing suicide. And the ending is so beautiful at the same time.
Yeah.
She's with all those little spirits. Or like when the little blind girl goes, it's Laura, and they're all excited, and she's with her boy. Whew. That was rough. That was fuck.
I was like, thank God. Because again, I've already talked about the fact that I was like, oh God, I'm not ready to watch this movie again, like emotionally. Like it's so heavy and terrible. But then I did feel like at the end, thank God they padded this with something that feels hopeful and nice and soft.
Yes.
You know, like.
And the element that she's like Wendy.
Right.
Because Peter Pan there's also some stories about Peter Pan that he helps bring the spirits of children to the afterworld. Not in the Disney version, but so she is like Wendy and Peter Pan. That's a beautiful element, which I thought was like another story, kind of.
Right.
Like, but anyway.
No, I didn't pick up on that so much the first time, and only this time was I like, oh, I'm seeing the parallel of the story of staying young forever.
The lost children.
Right.
Wendy is the one that's the mother figure.
Yeah, and this time also I picked up a little bit more on the fact that, and I don't know if this has any, I mean, this is just me talking about my own observations, and it could sound like real dumb, but I was like, it's interesting that the first time she approaches that guy who introduces her to the medium, I don't remember his name, but she sits down with him after he has a talk about meeting a doppelganger. Like, he's like, once you meet a doppelganger or you see a doppelganger, you are close to death. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't 100% sure, but I wondered if when she looks out the window down on the lawn, do you remember this? Mm-hmm. Right before, and she sees that child run out and look up at her and run off into the woods. I wondered, is that her as a little kid? Okay.
Yes. Bingo. Okay. Yes, that's her doppelganger.
And I was like, whoa, I didn't pick up on this at all the first time I watched it. But she just looked, and I thought, again, oh shit, this is going to come up again. Right? Like, I was like, this seems so prominent. It's weird that it wouldn't come back into play. But it seems like it did towards the end where but again, I don't know that we needed it. Like, we kind of got what was happening. I don't know.
Yeah, because I have to be honest. I remember the whole scene with him giving his presentation, the professor. And then I remember her seeing herself running outside. Mm-hmm. I did not put together, oh shit, she's about to die.
Yeah.
Because that's her doppelganger. It didn't.
We have
come
enough
together
to tell us. Even still, the reason why I think I'm confused on the ending, and maybe you can clear this up for me, is, you see her taking a bunch of pills, but also Simone says, I followed the clues and I found the clues, which he really did, right? He went down and found Tomas's room, who, you assume throughout the course of the movie, Tomas is one of the ghosts / imaginary children leading him through this game. So he finds it down there, and then he says, if you find it, a wish will be granted. And I wished that you could stay here forever with us. So I wasn't like 100%. I was like, is she dead because she committed suicide, or is she dead because of his wish? I don't know. I mean, I know that they had her taking those pills, and so you're kind of left with...
Sorry, go. You're kind of left with...
Well, it kind of leads you to believe that she committed suicide and died in the house. But we also don't see, like, the reckoning of that. Like, we see Carlos come back to the house and go into the room as if he got there right after what just happened, and he finds the necklace in the crack in the floor after she pulls it off. But then he goes outside and puts flowers on a gravestone, which, like, the first part of that scene makes me think it happened 48 hours after she asks him to leave, right? Because remember, she's like, leave the house for 2 days. Dos dias is all I need. 2 days. Just let me be here by myself. And so he leaves, and all of this happens. She finds Simone, and then she finds all the kids, and she takes off the necklace. And it feels like he comes back the next fucking morning and finds that necklace in the crack in the floor. But then when he goes outside and lays the flowers on the grave, it feels like, well, it's been probably years since all of this happened. So I was like, I don't know. I couldn't help but be confused by the end. Like, obviously she died, but, like, did she die, or was she, like, sucked into this afterworld, or what am I trying to say? Afterlife by the wishes of Simone, who, I don't know.
No, that's a really good point.
I'm really splitting hairs. It doesn't matter. But
when I saw it, I thought that was his wish, and he got his wish because her decision was to kill herself.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. This
could be both. Yeah.
Yeah. That she made that decision because of how much she missed him and how horrible she felt that she played a part in his death unintentionally. And so then she took all those pills and she was down, and then there was like sun, and she woke up and she was there and could see all the spirits. So then she had died. And I got the feeling that he was there, the dad, maybe a couple of weeks, because the property was still intact, but that particular room, if I'm remembering correctly, was cleared.
No beds.
There were no beds or anything.
Yeah.
They obviously buried, the gravesite looked brand new and fresh, like the gravestone was shiny and all new. So I got the feeling it was like he did come back, they found him, the investigation incurred, the burial, like all of that, and now he was leaving the house. I mean, maybe not one last time, but maybe
Okay.
for a last time, and he found that necklace. And I loved, though, how the doors opened.
Yeah.
And he knew they were together. I feel like I'm going to cry. I'm not going to.
Do it. Just cry.
But I loved that.
Yeah. No, it was a good, again, I mean, even
I'm really not going to, I feel like I'm going to cry, so I stopped, so.
You're allowed to cry, okay? Listen. But it like I said, at least it gives you some sort of like happy feeling at the end. Like she's happy that she has rejoined Simone and the children and that she can kind of take care of them, whatever that looks like in this afterlife setting, right?
Yes.
And he does come back to the house, and the opening of the doors kind of insinuates, she recognizes that he's there and is a warm embrace to him, and he even smiles, seemingly knowing that she is there in that house, right?
And that she's with Simone.
Thank God. I mean, that I needed that after this like bleak, terrible, terrible movie. Thank you for that choice, because
he lost them both. So I could imagine losing both your spouse and your child. My God, I don't even want to imagine it. And somehow, though, knowing that they were in fact together.
Yeah.
Knowing, because we don't know. We don't know what happens after death, right? We like to imagine that we know, but no one truly knows. But somehow truly knowing, they are together. That would be the fucking ultimate comfort. But after going through a loss like that.
Totally.
Do you know over 400 children auditioned for the role of Simone?
Really?
Mm-hmm. Over 400 children. And did you know that Guillermo del Toro actually plays the doctor at the emergency ward who tends to Laura after she injures her leg?
Shit.
I brought myself back to what I wanted to say.
Okay,
I brought
what is
myself
it?
back. How the hell does she break her leg like that running through the ocean water?
I'm so glad that you brought this up also.
Yeah, that really, when she was like, and you see this like vision of her leg real quick, I'm like, how the fuck did that happen?
Yeah, good question. It's like, do you suddenly have 80-year-old bones? Do you have osteoporosis as a 40-year-old? Like, what is happening? Yeah, great question. I don't know.
It's just the white water. She's just running in sand and white water, and her leg snaps. Like, the bone is poking through. Like, what the fuck happened right there?
Okay, good
question. I know
question.
you didn't want her to have to be able to reach the cave, but shit. Put more water in the cave. I don't know.
In defense of this is what I wanted in The Strangers. I immediately was like, this is it. This is how you show real fast this person can't move anymore. She even tries to get back up on that leg and just immediately falls down. And they show you that leg that's broken in literally like a 1/4 of a second. And you're like, that leg is broken. Like, it's like so instantaneous that you're like, yeah, no, she can't run on it anymore. And so I just, in watching that scene, I was like, this is what I wanted right here.
Yes, I agree. But like, it would be more believable if Liv Tyler from The Strangers falling in the ditch fucked up her ankle or something like that than running through the beach in whitewater.
I hear you. It's like, did you never drink milk? Like, what is happening?
It's so intense.
Yes.
Like, it's such a bad break.
She has really bad bones. Maybe it's hereditary. Yeah. Okay, Felicia?
All right. Maybe it's hereditary.
I don't know. I don't have a good answer.
The movie? That was all the backstory. So all the backstory of this character is that she has this hereditary thing where she has weak bones. But that wasn't portrayed in the movie besides right here, but that was backstory.
Right, yeah, totally. No, I do feel like there is, though, just to defend this seriously, I do think she as a mother is such a fiercely, like, through the entire movie, she's not going to stop trying to find Simone. So something really had to stop her. Right? Yeah. And like how that happened, remains
maybe
to be
it was
explained.
Supernatural? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying like no, I'm being much more shallow than that. Okay. As a writer of this movie, you're like, what is gonna stop this bitch from getting to that cave? Not even that it would have mattered, honestly, because even if she had entered the cave, he wouldn't have been there because he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Right? So, but maybe that matters to the viewer because as you're watching...
No, he wasn't there. You're right.
He wasn't, but as the viewer, you don't know that until way the fuck later in the movie.
Yeah, that was Tomas probably.
So I could see how just from a plot perspective, like a plot device perspective, you're like, something has to stop her physically from getting to that cave, maybe, but I hear you. It's a little out of reality.
Yeah, because it would have been more believable that the waves were just so high and so
might
deep.
as well just make her break a hip. You know what I mean? And call her life alert.
Yeah, exactly. How high would the waves have to be though, actually? Because I would still, I mean, it's not like it was way off the shore. So you're right. I would have went through the waves. I would have had to
everything's soft. It's water and sand. I hear what you're saying. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Like if you were like running over a log or something and you just happen to tweak your like leg in the right way and you got enough leverage to break it, like maybe. Like, but you're in water and sand.
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck are you gonna break your leg?
Like that.
Yeah.
Just like
it's a clean break. It's
the bone is sticking out.
What is that called? It's called like a... Fuck, I can't remember. But there's a name for it when it clean breaks in half. Like...
Yeah, was intense. Like...
Yeah.
I've fallen in heels off of a step and rolled my ankle. I didn't like snap my leg in half, and you would think in those heels I would have.
Your fucking tibia.
if she did it in the freaking sand and little water coming up, then I should have.
We should be taking some more vitamin D or whatever for our bones.
She should. I think I'm good. Oh my God.
That's a great point, and I can't defend it.
I thought the filming was beautiful, the locations, I loved the story, how they hid. I love how they built suspense, like when she was doing the 1, 2, 3, and then she would turn around and there's nothing there, and then the little ghost children were there. That was pretty cool. And her anger and her rage and her frustration, she did such a good job. They all did a really good job. All the actors did a really good job.
Yeah, the acting was really spot on. And I love that. I also wrote that down as one of my notes, as in I called it the James Wan. And maybe that's insulting, and so I apologize if this has been done way before this moment and I don't remember or know about it. But this happens in like The Conjuring 2 or The Conjuring 3 and a couple of other James Wan films that I think where he does this camera trick where it doesn't cut away, it just moves. It shows you the subject and then shows you what they're looking at and then shows you the subject and shows you what they're looking at. So it like pans from those two things over and over again. Super interesting. I don't know if this had come out before when James Wan did it, but I thought, this might have been the inspiration for James Wan. I don't know. But I thought it was a great camera thing also because it really builds the tension and it's scary as fuck. You're watching those kids show up behind her in mass.
And you're just waiting for them to touch her collar like they did in the beginning, right? Oh my God. You know what I really love? When movies successfully dupe me. Like I'm intently watching everything.
Because I wondered about this. I was like, did they get Felicia? Did they get her?
They didn't get me.
Okay.
Did they get you? Wait. What are you talking about?
No, I'm sorry. You finish what you're talking about and I'll tell you.
Because they could have gotten me because they did. But okay, what I was saying is how they at the end, I didn't even think about when she went into the closet and was moving those things around that there might be a door in there. I didn't even think that he would be under there. I didn't at the end I'm like, oh shit, I love that. I did think, what the fuck are those heavy ass things that she keeps having to move around in that closet to get rid of that shit. It's so, I thought, what is that shit? But I didn't even think, it totally got me. And I did assume that the children had died for some reason, there was something in the beginning. I think because it was so weird and eerie when that woman was like, when the woman was like, no, everything's fine. She will be happy. I'm like, okay, this kid's getting adopted. So it's a good thing, but why is it so ominous? Like, why is it scary? So I did think that something was going to happen. I did assume also that that little ghost, Tomas, was an orphan there. So I assumed the ghosts were orphans. I didn't assume, though, that he was like this abused child downstairs or any of that stuff. And I had no clue. No clue. I was like, where the fuck is Simone?
Yeah.
Like, where is he? I thought he was in like this other dimension because he mentions they take something special oh, shit. That's why. Okay. He says that the ghosts have told him they take something special from you, and in order to get it back, you have to play the game. So I thought he was like in this other dimension. But that's why he died. They took him from her. So it's really not two stories. For me, when I was watching it, I was like, this is like could be a completely fucking different story with the kid dying with you know what I mean? But no, that's how they took him. Okay. That makes sense. But then she found him, but then in order to really be with him, she had to take her own life. She didn't really get him back.
But that's not really her wish. Her wish is to be with Simone.
That's shitty, though. That reminds me of like those movies where you make a pact with the devil and he's like, I'll give you whatever you want. And you make a wish and you need to be real fucking specific because they will fuck that shit up.
Yeah. The monkey's paw. Yeah.
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 Oh.
Yes. This is exactly what I thought you were talking about, because as I watched it the second time, the one thing I remember from the first time I watched this movie is she's going to accidentally lock that kid in the basement with those gigantic metal poles. Like that's the one thing that I remembered. And so as I was watching the second time, I was like, fuck. I knew as it was happening, oh, she's locking him in there. And then I thought,
didn't catch it at all.
I did wonder, is this too on the note? Like, is it too... But I had the wherewithal to know from the first viewing that they really focused on it. But it is very slickly done, is it not? Like, it's very, like... They pay attention to it, but not enough to make you think this has anything to do with the plot.
Yeah, no, because she goes to the closet and opens it and all this shit falls out. And then they're like these giant metal things. I was so focused on what the fuck are those things? Get rid of them. Like, why are you storing those things? What a pain in the ass. That was all I thought. And then she shut the closet. So
very well done.
How gross with her nail. Oh, God, I hate that shit.
She's where she pulled it off.
Peeling off her finger and...
Yeah.
And then she broke her leg. Jeez, this poor lady.
Yeah, there's moments in this that you're just like, fucking ew. Ugh. The jaw missing. Also, when she finds the bodies in the like shed or whatever, fucking
great scene.
Terrifying, disgusting.
Yeah.
The worst, just my worst nightmare. I can't even imagine. And even, I think the first time I watched this, I was like, okay, I kind of get it. But the second time I watched it, I was like, bitch, that's a jaw. Like, you can tell it's a jaw. You don't need to pick it up and flip it around. Like, that is a jaw. And then, this is one of the other things that I wrote down in my notes that I'm just like, what in the actual fuck? She then proceeds, oh, there's a human cremated body in this sack. Let me just go ahead and grab all the rest of these sacks and dump them out onto the floor, which A, is very terrible for the people who are dead. Like, you're desecrating their fucking remains and, like, mixing them all up. And it's, like, I just...
Crime scene investigation is...
Yes, not to even mention just the spiritual side of, oh, I'm really fucking up this grave. And she's saying while she's doing it, like, please don't be Simone. How the fuck would you know? How would you be able to identify in these remains that it's your son. You wouldn't. There's no fucking possible way. So she's just like emptying out these bags of fucking cremains, right? And then what she does is she just rubs, not intentionally, but she's like panicking, but she's rubbing cremains all over her face, just the ashes of these dead children that were her friends, by the way, all over her face. That was another moment where it took me so out of the movie that I was like, that is disgusting me. Why would you do that? No.
Yeah, she's just like buried in it.
The moment that I touched something that was a jaw, legitimately, you best believe, yeah, that would be for those of you not watching our YouTube channel, Felicia and I both put our hands up.
Yeah.
Because you would stop touching whatever you're touching and you would back the fuck up and you'd call 911 and you'd be like, get the police out here. I just discovered some fucking bodies. We need forensics.
Yeah. I wouldn't like bury myself in
the cremains.
Yeah, there's these are, I mean, you would assume they're yeah, you get the ashes are their body and you're just like mixing them all up, and yeah, I totally agree.
What the fuck? Yeah. That drove me crazy just as a germaphobe and a person who is concerned about crime scenes.
Yeah, exactly. That's just like what. Well, I mean, I don't know. Well, I guess the kids didn't have families because they were orphans, that you would be sending the ashes to. But still, maybe you want to bury. Well, I guess you could. Whatever.
Well, no, it's
agree.
It's hidden. It's hidden. The lady
agree.
killed them, poisoned them, burned their bodies because she didn't want anybody to know. But like, wouldn't you not want to be incriminated for that? Like, now you own that fucking house. I don't know. Something.
Oh yeah, like who are these kids? Like, maybe you killed these kids.
Right. Anyway.
That was a really, really good point.
That's the true crime people in us. We're like...
Yeah, because when she was doing it, I was thinking, oh shit, crime scene investigators are going to be pissed.
Yeah.
Like, she is in it. Like, she's so in it.
What the fuck? This is not a sandbox, you lady.
Yeah, and then she crawls into the oven. Her DNA is everywhere. I mean...
Yes.
Maybe they could tell that the bones were very, very old, so there was no way that she could have killed them, but... I don't know. Oh, I have my very first note that says, what the fuck, she is brave. And that came with when she went out to the shed in the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is not anything I would ever do. Like, there's a noise, and if my husband is like, I'm just sleeping, well, I'm waking him up, or I'm just going back to bed. I am not going to go into these massive, massive estates she has, creeping around, looking at shit. Oh, hell no. It didn't ruin the movie for me. I literally said she is brave because I wouldn't do that.
Maybe she felt a little bit more emboldened by the fact that she used to live there.
Yeah. I wouldn't even go outside in my backyard if I heard something.
I hear what you're saying. Me either.
It's tiny compared to her estate. I wouldn't go back there. I wouldn't go on the side of my house that's only like this many feet to see what's back there. But I did think that. I thought maybe like because she had lived there. And then my very next note is, the music's a little wonky.
That's the running off.
Oh, I love it. Yes, 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 yes.
The last thing that I want to make fun of before I continue talking about how great this movie is the last thing that I was like, what the fuck is happening? So when she's in the house at the party, she gets confronted by Tomas's ghost, we assume, right? And he has a mask with like hair on the top. And she grabs some of that hair and rips it off of the mask, puts it in her pocket or whatever. It's like yarn or something. It's like yarn threads that's supposed to be hair on the mask. Puts it in her pocket. And then when she approaches that guy who is like the professor or whatever, the guy who makes the introduction to the medium, she pulls this stuff out and she goes, Felicia just made the connection too.
I know what she's going to say. Go, keep going.
She puts it on the table and she's like, I touched a ghost or whatever, essentially, and pushes it over to him. The first thing this guy does is pick it up and smell it. And I was like, what? In what situation? I can't help but feel a little bit like maybe these things are like lost in translation. Like maybe because we're obviously watching a Spanish movie translate, like we're just reading the subtitles in English. Maybe there's something that we're missing. But I was like, what in the fuck did you think you were gonna smell to tell you something? Am I crazy? Did you pick up on this right away, or did I just plant that seed?
1,000,000%.
Okay.
Because he did not only just sniff it, he went...
Yes.
shoved it so far up into his nose. And I was like, what are you going to discover by the way this old piece of material smells? Like, what is it that you're going to be like,
are you carbon dating that?
Yeah.
In your brain?
In your face.
What?
I literally, while you were talking, I said, in Spain, do ghosts smell?
She Googled it.
I Googled it. And and nothing pops up right off the bat that says yes. And maybe this isn't the right way to frame it, but I totally went, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah.
Oh. He's just shoving that thing way up in his face and his nose.
But the medium does something similar. The medium, when she gets in there, she picks up one of the dolls and she also like deeply inhales the doll. Did you notice that one?
You're right. I did notice that one.
There must be something.
I wonder if it has to do with, now when I'm thinking of that, yes. I mean, I don't know. There is a type of psychic gift, like we hear a lot about clairvoyance and clairaudience hearing. There is it's called clairsense, and it's smelling. And it's when people can, clairaudience is you can hear if there's a ghost around you. I believe clairvoyance is you can see the actual ghost. But clairsense is that you smell it. So you don't see it or hear it, but you'll have a smell. A smell will come into the room. Whatever the smell is, you can smell the ghost. I don't know. I wonder if maybe the other thing that came to my mind is just like how bloodhounds.
Yeah, track.
Like they kind of can track by smelling the item and then track it. I mean, but they didn't. I mean, she kind of did walk through the house after that, but
she did. But
he didn't, though. He was in his freaking auditorium classroom.
Yeah.
What was he planning to do? It was weird.
So weird. Just with no explanation. We need some kind of setup. What
was he hoping it smelled like? It's going to smell like an old piece of material.
That is the only thing I can imagine, because I've heard that sometimes, if there's, ghosts or whatever, it smells like sulfur.
Oh, so maybe he was trying to see if it was a ghost that was wearing it versus a human?
I guess. But again, I don't know. That's the only thing.
They don't even really, he just smells it and puts it down and they just keep going about their day. So
it's really glossed over. It's just like, you should know what this means.
I love that you brought that up, because I thought the same thing.
I'm glad.
And for some reason I was like, ew.
I was also like what? Why would you do that?
It was like some kid from many years ago, and obviously something's wrong, because why is he wearing a mask like that? Was wearing that all the time, and like you just like shoved it up your face.
Shoved it on it, like it was gross. Yeah. That and the ashes, rubbing them all over her face. The first time I watched this movie, I was like, what the fuck? Don't do that. I was so grossed out.
So for this movie, I didn't have a whole lot of stuff. They didn't have a lot of stuff about it. I can tell you that the director, he wanted to break the ice with Geraldine Chaplin. So when she, I believe it's when she's going around the house and she's by a bed and she screams, the director was actually under the bed and grabbed her leg. So that's a real scream.
Ugh.
I always think, because you hear when directors do that, we've talked about this before, and I always wonder, because my reaction when someone scares me, like this is just a whole new level of acting then. When someone scares me, I scream, I'm angry, and then I laugh.
Right, yeah.
So I would imagine that she'd be like, ah, and then be like, holy shit. But the fact that he did that and she went, ah, and remained in character, that's like intense. That's amazing.
Yeah, great job.
Yeah.
Staying in character. I agree. I laugh pretty quick, I think, after I get scared.
Yes. I can tell you as well that the orphanage was an old colonial home. However, it was impossible to really get all the shots they wanted. So 80% of the film was shot in a studio.
Okay.
And the only last thing I have is, I don't even know, I just popped it in here. To prepare for her role as Laura, the director had her watch Close Encounters of the Third Kind and The Innocents to prepare for her role, which made me want to watch both of those and see. I mean, I have not seen The Innocents, I don't think, but I've seen Close Encounters, being an alien nerd, many times. Close Encounters was made the year I was born.
Cute.
That's cute.
I've seen it too, but it's been a while, so I don't remember.
I remember the mashed potatoes a lot.
The thing that I remember is the
yes.
Yeah.
You remember the mashed potatoes when he's building like the mountain and the mashed potatoes?
No.
Oh no. Okay.
I
don't even know if that's the right movie. I think it is. I'm not thinking of A Christmas Story when he's putting his face in the mashed potatoes and she's like, Mommy's little piggy. He's literally building something out of mashed potatoes, I'm pretty sure.
It sounds vaguely familiar. So I think it was in that movie, but I don't, remember how it.
But two good movies, related. So that was good. But those are the only fun facts I have.
I feel like there is a definite Guillermo del Toro vibe as far as the look of some of these things go, especially when we think about The Mask. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but I wonder how much influence he had over this movie as a whole. Like the Mask for Tomas is so almost reminiscent of Stephen Gammell. Like I thought as I was watching this movie, man, this reminds me of one of the illustrations in the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark books that really scared the shit out of me. I even showed it to you during our episode. It's like one of the ones that really scared me in the back of the book that wasn't related to any of the stories. And Guillermo del Toro, I think, was the producer on that movie, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And so I wonder just how much he had a hand in the visuals of this, because I think that and what were the other things that I was thinking? The illustrations downstairs, like in Tomas's room, and I don't know, they're just, and the masks maybe at the party. There were just like a few things that felt very Guillermo.
Yeah, the only thing they said was the nods to Guillermo, which were him being in the movie and one of the dolls, or one of the, when she opens the window seat and there's all the names, one of the kids' names is Guillermo. But yeah, you're right. Thinking of all the movies that he's done. Wow, I really, really love the movies he's done.
They're really good.
I really love him, I think.
And they have a very similar feel, I think, to this movie, at least in my experience. I haven't watched all of his movies, but the ones that I've seen do feel simultaneously horrific and dark, and also, like, fantasy happy.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. When I looked up this movie, the first thing that popped up was that it was a thriller fantasy.
Oh, okay.
And then the next thing I looked up said that it was a, whatever I called it, a horror, supernatural horror. But the first thing, when I looked it up, it said horror fantasy, and I'm like, horror fantasy? Why are we watching this movie? But I'm really happy we did because it was good. But yeah. Yeah. He did Pan's Labyrinth.
Yes. And Crimson Peak. Have you seen that?
I have not seen Crimson Peak.
Okay.
I seen The Shape of Water and loved it.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
You're right about Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark as well. Pacific Rim, I did see that. And Blade, I saw that. And I saw The Hobbit as well.
I have not seen Pacific Rim. Is it worth watching? Just popcorn flick wise?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think if I'm thinking about The Predator.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen all the other ones that they did, but yeah. The Book of Life, Mama.
I haven't seen Mama. That's one of the ones that's on your list for me to watch. Yeah.
Oh, shit, I saw it. I also think Tawny did it. Is Pan's Labyrinth a horror movie? Because
I think so.
I would love to see this again.
Yeah.
See, when you Google it, it says Fantasy War. Fantasy War? I didn't even know that was a thing.
Isn't it set in a war, but it's like...
And then it's like, then it calls it a dark fantasy film, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway. He's good, man.
I like him.
Me and the girls just literally watched The Shape of Water, and...
That's a pretty good movie.
God, it was really beautiful.
Yeah.
I was crying. I cry a lot, though.
I do, too.
Oh, I did this is random, but me and the girls, my two older girls, watched The Danish Girl.
Okay.
Have you seen that? It's not a horror movie.
No. Help me just, but I feel like I know what it is. Who's in it?
It won a lot of awards, and I'm going to tell you right now, The Danish Girl has, this is really tangent, legit tangent.
That's fair.
Eddie Redmayne.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
And he is transgender.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I haven't seen this movie, but I logged visual images from it. Okay.
Me and my older girls watched this movie. I was crying. So this movie that I know we're not reviewing this movie. I just want to say I felt it just, in my opinion, I don't know for, I would be curious, like the LGBTQ plus community, how they portrayed it. From my perspective, I thought it really beautifully portrayed both struggles. Mm-hmm. So him or her, or him wanting to become her, which was Lily, but in addition to his loving wife and her struggle with wanting him to be happy, but she loves her husband. Like, and so she's lonely. Really beautifully done. I was crying. It was pretty, dude.
I'm going to watch it.
Totally different movie genre. Totally different movie. But hey, guys, you want to try something new, that's not horror.
Listen, while we're on this note, literally today, to all the boys I'm going to fuck this up. To all the boys I've loved before, that movie series, the most recent movie comes out today. So I'm going to be watching that literally like today or tomorrow because I fucking love those movies. Have you not seen these, Felicia? You look confused.
I've never heard of this.
Oh my God. Okay, you need to watch these stat. And you might be like, I don't know. You might be like, this shit is
high ratings.
Dumb as fuck. But it's like definitely the newer generation's version of like the 80s love stories. But not in like a dumb way, like in a very heartfelt way. Because, I don't like movies that don't feel like they have heart. I don't like watching something that feels very like surface level bullshit. These movies are so good. And I think the sequel wasn't as good. The original is the best. So you should definitely start with that one.
All right. This looks like something I can watch with my older girls. So
I mean,
that would be fun.
I think they'd love it. If they haven't seen it already.
I'm sure they would. They love all this kissing booth and I'm not gonna lie, I like all that shit too. I love a good a romantic movie. Romance. I was gonna say romantic movie and romance at the same time. I can say, something that me, my husband, my daughters, we all watched was Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah.
Oh. And I have to admit, I cried. My daughter cried. And Steve, he looked sentimental. That was great. That's another. Sometimes you need to, with all the true crime and horror, you need to mix in some life is good. Sometimes, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes when I start to get panicky, it happens a lot when I'm really, really happy and at peace. This tries to creep in, oh my God, what if something happened to someone? Or what if it's almost like when you're feeling so good, does something bad have to happen? Which it doesn't. It doesn't. That's something that we all always think, but it doesn't have to happen. But I literally will do that. Something will creep in. I'm like, no, that is not. I've been brainwashed to believe that if things are going good, something bad has to happen, and that's not true. And I'll literally tell myself, there are lots of people whose kids have not been kidnapped.
You're right.
There are lots of people who live to be old and don't get dementia.
Yes.
There are lots of people who to be... It's just because Tawny, if you guys... The only reason I said that and laughed is because if you hadn't heard the other episode where Tawny was talking to me dementia is a for sure thing that everybody gets, and I kind of had a panic attack. There are people who get to grow old and just die of being old, because I just think we're inundated with all this other stuff and this fear and people being hurt and people dying of diseases, which is very much there. But there's also people that, sometimes I'll panic. Every time my kid goes out to drive, I get okay, Felicia, just relax and, just let it go. I do have this little thing, I have to say, even when they leave in the morning and they don't know that I wake up whenever I hear anything, in my head I go, drive safe. I feel like I have to say that to everybody leaving in a car. It's going to help protect them. But anyways, I have to tell myself there's lots of people that have driven their whole life and they're absolutely fine.
Yes.
That's a big tangent, but...
No,
maybe there's some people that need to hear that.
Can I respond to your big tangent? Because
Please do.
I feel like I have many things to say in response to that. Number one, as a person who talks to you on the weekly basis and also is obsessed with true crime stuff, I do feel like sometimes the amount of things that you're are going bad is high. You're okay, 80% of the people around me are doing bad things. And I don't think it's that high. I think, it's more 20%. And the other 80% of the people are just normal living people. And I think if you consume too much of that, true crime, bad stuff is happening, content, it makes you believe, all of that is happening right here and now. And I'm a person with anxiety and I'm terrified of everything in the world, literally.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. But that's why I have to be aware of the fact that, okay, I'm watching too much true crime. I have to step away. I do cycles. I cannot just consume all of that all at once. I go through a moment, a few months, and then I'm okay, I got to step away from that and watch some fucking Fixer Upper, you know what I'm saying? I need to watch
all the boys I loved before.
Yes. Yeah. I need to just get away from that for a minute and then I come back to it. And so I think that is also true. The other thing that I want to mention is there is a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, I believe is his name. And he talks about, Felicia, what you just mentioned, is as people, when we start to get too happy, I'm doing air quotations, we self-sabotage and we bring ourselves down and we find something to be not happy about. And it's what you just said, there's this creeping feeling that, if I get too excited, too happy, something is going to come in and undercut that. this book talks about that, and I highly recommend it. It definitely made me more aware of this for myself, and I think it's very helpful.
Does it help you work through it? Because I have Audible credits. So I will, because I'm not driving, I have so many Audible credits.
You should definitely listen to this book because he talks about, like, there's like a few like archetypes. Like he says, you know, there's a few reasons why you feel this way and how to move through them and how to identify them, like in your body, how you're holding them and how you're stressed. And it really made a big difference for me. So I highly recommend that. And
I'm gonna just want you to know I'm gonna read that. Because just like with money mindset type stuff, and you guys know me and Tawny are really, really big into self-development. That's one thing I try to look at. What are the stories that have been told to me and that I've internalized?
Yeah.
And one thing that I think we all can resonate with is it's too good to be true.
Yes.
So when something really great happens, I'm like, something's going to come in to fuck it up and then I don't know the actual thing, but the actual term, but there's definitely when things are going good, it's just a matter of time. Like something has to happen bad to break that up. And I don't believe that. I don't think that that's true. I don't think that, bad things happen, but I don't think just because I think you could go years with having good things happen before something bad happens. Like, I guess depending on what your idea of bad is. But anyways, I'm on a tangent. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely check that out. It made me aware, actually, of how often I hold anxiety and stress in my stomach. Because he says a lot in this book, and I listened to the Audible version, like, pay attention to when you feel you're tightening your stomach. Like, which for me is all the fucking time, because I'm always anxious. And letting go of that tension and just, like, releasing it. And that alone, not to mention the rest of the really great stuff in that book, just made a really big difference for me.
I literally just ordered it. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the last thing is, literally last night, because I watched this movie and it made me feel really bad because of the whole plot, I was like, oh no, I feel really bad. And it literally like sent me into a negative spiral. Like I was like, oh no, I feel really bad about this. Like what's happening in the world that's bad. What's happening in my personal life that's bad. Like everything's bad. And I literally spiraled down. And I had to be like, Jade, come out here. Like, because he was in the office and I was like, I need you to like talk to me about something else. Like I'm spiraling. I'm literally just having a self-pity party where I'm thinking about all the things that are going wrong. And so I just am saying that to say that if you are a person who knows that you're affected by things like this, you're not alone. Everybody, I feel like this. I had a moment last night. I had to just be like, okay, let's talk about something else. I literally watched some Pawn Stars. You know what I mean? Like I had to like dig myself out of I feel terrible. Right? Like, so there's a moment, even though, Felicia, you and I think agree on this point. We tend to gravitate towards more of this like really dark, scary horror stuff in general. And that's great. And I love it. And I love to watch it and talk about it. And sometimes you have to be able to like set it aside and watch some Fixer Upper. That's all.
Yeah, you totally, because I am the same person. And if I'm watching a lot of documentaries about things about children or things like these conspiracy theories about politics or any of that type of stuff where I just feel completely lost and helpless. And yes, I literally have to force myself to think of something else because it's not that I don't care. I do care. And I try to do my part for whatever I can do. But I couldn't even function as a human being if I thought about this every day. Like I have to. And I do the same thing you do with the cycles. Like it's like I just binge this true crime thing. And then all of a sudden, and it's hard for my family because we'll sit down to watch something and they'll be like, oh, you probably want to see this. And it's like serial killer confessions.
Right, yeah.
I don't want to see that shit. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, let's watch Crazy Rich Asians.
Right.
Like, okay. Yeah. I want to smile. I want to laugh. I want to watch a love show. And then another day I'll be like, oh, yeah, the crime scene, Netflix, drama, let's watch it. And they're like, okay, let's get on.
They just never know. Okay, where are we going today?
They never know. And it's polar opposites, too, of, yeah, because I need to get out of it completely, and then I need to be in it completely.
Yeah, same. Can I also just say real quick, in relation to these, to All the Boys I've Loved Before, the first movie is one of the only times, and I've told you this before, it's one of the only times I've watched a movie and I've got to the end of the movie and I think immediately I want to rewatch that movie. I want to start that movie right now and rewatch it. And I wanted so bad. I think I did rewatch it by myself, but then I told Jade, you need to watch this movie. You need to. And I made him watch it like 2 days later or something, and I rewatched it completely. And we got to the end, and he was like, that was a great fucking movie. And I was like, I fucking know. I'm telling you. It's so good. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about
that's
that
good,
movie.
because it's something I could watch with Steve as well.
Maybe. It's so good. He's
a sensitive guy. I don't know if he's happy me sharing this, but I'll look over and he'll have tears in his eyes. Like,
yeah, I think he'll like it.
He's sentimental. Like, he is totally.
But it's very teenagery. You know what I mean? Like, it's like very teenager, focused. But I love this movie.
He likes coming of age type things and like.
Okay.
Yeah.
He'll like it.
He's
I think.
A good, sensitive soul.
It's good. This movie has heart too. It doesn't feel shallow, like I was saying. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'll stop talking about this.
Who knew? You guys didn't know that when you were going to listen to an episode on the orphanage that you're also going to get some self-help sort of self-development talk here. We hope it helped. We hope you enjoyed it. This is fun. Shit, I had fun anyways. I hope everyone else had fun. Next week we're watching Audition.
Yes.
Yes, and this was Tawny's pick, and I've never even heard of it, and so I'm very excited.
Neither of us have seen it.
You haven't seen it either?
No. I've only read and heard stuff about this movie, so I am real stoked.
I'm scared a little bit.
I think you should be. I think it's very violent.
Oh, God, I'm scared.
But I think it's real good. So.
Okay. All right, good.
Yes.
Well, before we sign off, so I don't mess this up, what do you rate this movie?
Good question. I forgot about rating.
It's a very good question that we're never prepared for, because I'm not either.
Never.
We're literally never prepared for this question, even though we do it every week.
I did think about it, and I think I'm ready to throw out a number. Because I always want you to do it first, so I'm going to go first this time. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm going to give this a 4.
Ooh, good score. All right.
Because I love it a lot, and I love the fact that it weaves all of these really seemingly unrelated things together in a way that I feel like is very buttoned up in the end. In the beginning, you're like, what the fuck? Where are we going? But by the end, you're like, man, all of that really tied up nicely. I like that a lot about it. And it leaves you feeling good. The only thing that I don't like about this movie are those few things that we talked about that I can't help but feel like, what the fuck is going on? And it really is horrific to rewatch because of how dark and terrible it is. And I like that, which is why I'm rating it so highly. But I don't think I would rewatch this movie if it weren't for the fact that we were literally talking about it on this podcast. Does that make sense? It's it's too dark and too traumatizing for me to watch it outside of this context. Just like Hereditary.
No, that makes total sense Yeah. Because there's some really, really good movies like Antichrist and Hereditary, right? That you're not just going to fucking binge watch that shit. But it was really good. Love it. Yeah, you really love it.
Yeah.
All right. I like it. I am going to give this movie a 3.75. Because I did really love it. I loved the elements. It was just, at the end, I felt so intensely like, gosh, this could have been several stories. Like, I felt like they weaved a lot into it. They did button it up, and I liked that. That aspect of it, though, really did, like, shit, what else can they shove in here? And it lingered with me a lot, even in my realization for a moment of like, oh, they took him from her. But, like, I don't know. So I feel pretty...
We could have lost some shit, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like even with how I've rated other movies, the only other 3.75 I gave was Trick or Treat. And I would say most definitely I enjoyed them at the same level. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you can find us anywhere on social medias. Instagram is really our hub, though. That's mostly where we are. So you can find us at Two Chicks and a Horror Flick. You can find us on Facebook. Our Facebook group is kind of where we go to post extra links and stuff that we talk about. So definitely join us over there if you want to see that extra type of stuff. We also have a Patreon if you want to support the show and get a little bit of extra perks going on over there. Mm-hmm. And the only other one is Twitter, and it's Two Chicks HF. Because our name was too long. You can also email us at twochicksandahorrorflick@gmail.com. So we're everywhere. Just type it in and you'll find us.
Yeah, and you guys can imagine when we were doing the Twitter name, like how fucking long it took us to pick a Twitter name. Should it be TC Horror Flick? Or should it be... So finally, I like Two Chicks HF because it reminds me of AF and, you know. Yeah. So follow us and... everything Tawny said.
And give us a rating if you like the show and share it with some friends, all of that stuff on Apple Podcasts.
If you don't like it, you don't have to give us a rating. I'm just kidding.
No, it's okay.
We're cool. It's all good.
And yeah, I guess that's it. So we will see you next week, and we hope you have such a good night. No nightmares.